What's up everyone? Lance Hedrick here, and today we're looking at something just a little bit different than what I normally go over. It is a pod machine. Now, it's not just any pod machine though, it's a very unique one designed by a famous French designer named Philippe Starck. Now, Philippe was invited by the Portuguese company Delta in order to come and create this machine. And as you can see, it is a beautiful piece of art. It's turning coffee making into art. I think it's lovely. They have three colors right now, white, black, and this terracotta. But looks don't mean much whenever you're taking your morning cup. The taste is what's important. So let's go ahead and look into some of their claims about what's going on with this and see how the coffee itself tastes. Now, before we jump fully in, I'm gonna ask that you take a second, hit the like and subscribe if you enjoy my content, maybe the bells for notification, and check out my Patreon below. It's with the funds that I have there that I can buy things like this in order to present them with as little bias as possible. The way that the Q Rise separates itself from other pod style machines is that instead of extracting from up down, they're actually extracting from the bottom up. So water's going through the bottom of the puck up to the top and directly into your cup. Now the cups, which are also designed by Philippe Starck, click into the top of the machine. So the coffee will come from the bottom and rise to the top. Now what they argue is that this style of extraction and of entering into the cup allows for the retention of the volatile aromatics as well as different organoleptic compounds that might be lost during the fall from your Nespresso machine or espresso machine into your cup. So the theory, in theory, should work since it's going straight into a cup, a closed off system, and that crema head is right above everything else that's being extracted. It should be able to retain these things since it's not being oxidized on the way down. Now, whether or not this is accurate to a chemical degree, I've not seen any proof of that. It seems to be all conjecture, marketing language, and honestly, I'm just highly skeptical that it's gonna create anything much different, especially because ideally you wanna stir your espresso. But we'll go ahead, we'll make some of these coffees, we'll see how they taste, and let's chat about it. All right, and scene. Hey, let's take a look at the build of this bad boy. It's very simplistic. You have your water reservoir right here. Pull that out. Very easy. You have the tube that goes into the machine, you just push in, there's a gasket inside to seal it off, easy peasy. Now you're probably looking at this going, wow, that's really small. And well, you'd be right. It is a very small water reservoir, so you're not gonna be able to fill it and use it for a week. You're probably gonna be refilling it every other day or so. But it's really compact, which is really nice, and that's something I don't super mind. And then over here, we have the kind of the dispensing bin. So it's the bin where the pods are dispensed or extra water or something that is being spurred out after your extraction is where that comes. So what this one's really interesting though, if you listen closely, you have beet, pods, and dispensed water. The plug's in the back on the base, good to go. So we move on up. This is where you put the pods into. It's kind of, honestly, what I just realized is this kind of looks like one of those air purifiers that people put in their bathrooms. I have a lot of experience with that. I walk in the bathroom, it always shoots me in the face, the one in ours. But this is obviously is looking a little nicer, but that does remind me of that. But this is where you slide the pod into. And then of course on top, you have the little bit where you twist your cup onto. You have three options for coffee sizes. You have an espresso, kind of something in between, like a lungo, I guess, and then you have like an Americano size coffee option. Let's go ahead and pull some Spro on this. So because this machine is owned by a roasting company, you're kind of stuck into their ecosystem. They have patented, in response to Nespresso and those type of pods back in 07, they patented their own type, so you don't really have any options. So you're kind of just stuck with what they have. And also they're pretty heavily plastic, though it is a food safe plastic. I like the current trend in some of these machines that are Nespresso friendly, that have biodegradable capsules, like with the Drink Morning machine I made a video on almost 2 years ago. That would be my preference because a lot of those are biodegradable and heavily recyclable. Like they're very easy to recycle. You don't need special bins. Now, before we get to brewing, I'm gonna pull out what their glassware looks like. So you have this, which is kind of for that Americano style coffee, the big one. And then of course, as you've already seen, we have the little espresso cup. And then we have the glasses, the little plates that they can be situated on. So when you're done, bada bing, bada boom. And it's kind of a good fit, but it's not super good because obviously I can shake it and it falls. So that's kind of what they look like. Now, again, their claim is a very unique one, and one that I think is a big claim to be making. So let's read it from their own words. Boom. The best coffee experience is extracted upside down.
Didn't know that.
The innovative Delta Q rise system injects the coffee from the bottom up through the base of the cup, intensifies the taste and natural coffee aromas, brings out a lasting creaminess, and maintains the ideal temperature. A perfectly reverse espresso. It literally says espresso. Get out of here! But anyway, that's some big claims, some big old claims from Starck himself, and not Tony Starck, Philippe Starck. I thought about what I could compare it to, and honestly, I don't really know, because I would need to have something that has the same force and everything as this machine has for a proper comparison, and I don't have something like their typical Q, the capsules. I don't know if it extracts the same way that this does, just reversed. So I don't really know how to compare it to anything, but I have had Delta coffee often, and we'll see. You know, Delta is, just so people watching, I live in Portugal, and Delta is served at many coffee shops around the country. So I'm very familiar with Delta's coffees. So we'll take some sips of this. We'll see if, blows my hair back with the creaminess, etc. Of the espresso. We're gonna take this bad boy. We're gonna go ahead and zero it out, because I want to know the beverage yield exactly for the espresso. Put it on, click it in, film side down, and bada bing. Now I'm gonna click the espresso button. Here it comes, like magic, from the bottom up. Come on, baby. Okay, and we are finished. You hear a little that's shooting out the rest of the water that was rejected, and here we are. So I'm gonna click this off, up. As I untwist it, that little puck falls to the bin, and this weighs 27.23 yield. So the input of these pods, as best as I could measure, because these are difficult to get open, is around 5 to 6 grams of coffee. So it's around a 1-to-5 ratio, which is a pretty big ratio even for espresso. So I'm going to assume, even though normal espresso measures around 9 to 11 TDS, total dissolved solids, I'm gonna guess this is closer to 3 or 4% TDS, which just means the percentage of this water that is not water. That's all TDS means. And so typically with espresso, you're seeing around 9 to 11, and variation there. But this I'm gonna assume is around 4% espresso. So after refracting it, it was 4.27 TDS. So I was pretty much on the money with my estimation there. That means 4.27% of this beverage is coffee, which is not really espresso by the stretch of the word, but especially according to like Illy's definition in his book, this is much too weak to be really considered an espresso, much less considered an espresso. So, it is what it is. And this is the most concentrated version. So of course the next two up are going to be even lower and lower TDS, much closer to filter strength coffee. Now it's difficult to calculate the extraction yield of this because there's going to be variation from pod to pod as to how much coffee is in it. And even 1/10 of a gram is going to greatly vary the extraction yield, the calculation. But I'm going to guess it's around 18% extraction based off of the pod that I was able to remove and dried out the coffee and weighed again. So this is what the inside of the pod looks like. It's very difficult to pull apart. It is sealed in there hard. They don't want you opening it. But as you can see on the top, you have a thin little like paper-like filter, and then you have the coffee right there, which is incredibly dark. And so it's ground kind of like at, I don't know, like a mocha pot type of fineness. So not maybe close to espresso, but it is finely ground coffee. Now it is sealed pretty decently, but you're still pre-ground coffee's pre-ground coffee. So the crema we're seeing here is not actually the same type of crema you're gonna get in an espresso that is being produced from fresh coffee beans and properly applied force in order to generate the amount of pressure needed to create said crema. This is more like a faux crema that you get with a pressurized basket in an espresso machine, where you have pre-ground coffee. So this is more of a coffee foam than it is an actual crema, but it still kind of gives you that creamy mouthfeel. So I'm gonna actually pull another one so I can taste it fresh to really understand what their claims are regarding aroma and volatile compounds and yada, yada, yada. So I'm gonna take one of each, and we're just gonna like randomly choose one. I'm gonna close my eyes, and which one I can still catch is the one. So None of them. Dang it. So it's purple. So we're gonna go with purple. Ooh. Okay, here we go. Boom. We've got our little head of foam, and we're gonna go and take a sip. Now, as Daddy Hoff, our patron saint of coffee, has pointed out, it is better to stir because you have varying levels of TDS throughout because coffee extracts in layers. But we're gonna go and sip it as is to kind of follow with their marketing. So, I'll be honest. It tastes pretty indistinguishable, but from an espresso, just honestly. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to stir it with my Daddy Hoff spoon. Here's the thing. This is why my skepticism's so high on this. Is it's been shown time and again, and this is why historically espressos are served with a spoon. Espresso is better when you stir it up. You kind of harmonize the cup, and you still will retain crema, but you harmonize the cup, and it can really improve kind of the drinking experience. So we're going to stir it up, which is going to expose oxidation to the coffee, and we're going to see, if it's drastically worse because of the oxidation, or if it's, somewhat similar. I would actually say that's better than what it was previously. The creaminess has not left. It's still actually quite thin. You're not going to replicate a cafe creaminess on this machine. It's not producing the same set of the same pressure. It's not with freshly roasted coffee, which is very necessary for good crema. If you don't believe me, check out my science-driven video on crema explained right here. But it's a watery type of coffee. I guess in the world of Nespresso, maybe it's a little creamier, but I'm that's pure speculation. I don't really think that's even accurate. Probably. I just I like the idea and I want it to be true. But you're good. This was actually my juggling skills don't like me. This is the darkest coffee they have. This was the 15, and so I'm getting a lot of rubber and tar on there. But it is what it is. We'll pull both of the other ones real quick. We got time. Whatever. So I'm gonna use the bigger cups for these. Here we are. Let me make sure I have a plate for each. Here we are. All right. So we'll do. We have the 3 again. We're gonna let fate decide. So I'm gonna look at the camera while I'm juggling. So it's orange. All right, we're gonna put big boy on there, twist on. We're gonna do the medium size. Here we go. Might be running out of water. Yeah, we are. So after this, I'll definitely need to refill. But here we go. Na 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 na. It's like the snake coming out of the wicker basket or something. It's very fun to watch. The cascading like nitro effect is really cool to see. So it's very pleasing. Oh, so it's not that big. I look like a silly goober drinking it out of this big old cup when it could have just fit in the really small one. So it's not much bigger than the other, but man, look at the cascading. That's so fun to watch. But yeah, with that faux crema kind of on top. So it smells a little meaty, I'll be honest. More palatable, but it's because it's more watery, so it's kind of cutting back on a lot of the concentration of bitters, I guess. Okay. Tastes like Nespresso. All right, so we'll do the last one. Red now. Here's the biggie, the Big Lebowski. The dude abides. So it seems like it does a pre-infusion on this one. It went... Now it's coming out. All right, so this one, as you'd expect, is going to be much thinner, much more watery. This, I'm going to assume, it has around a 1-to-20 ratio. I actually measured the other day. So if you're assuming a 5 to 6 gram dose, the output is about 20 times more than that. So yeah, so it's quite a big beverage, around 100, 110 grams. But yeah, as you see, it's really pretty to watch. I'm sure it takes milk and sugar well. Yeah, it's really interesting. So what happens is it creates that faux crema first, and so that will hold down those volatile aromatics. Theoretically, it's going to hold them back, but you want them to release, so you're going to stir it anyway. It's like a similar explanation to the freeze-chill compounds, like that sausage cestic and the scientist Chahan kind of came up with, where you immediately chill the compounds, the coffee, as you're extracting it in order to retain volatile aromatics. I'm not sure if the same applies here because you're not changing anything. You're just kind of retaining it behind this layer of foam on top. So there is a hearty layer of foam up there, but it's like a faux crema. So it's not going to have the same thing. It's not as coating as actual crema is. It's just like a foam that's created through that mesh inside that puck, as we saw. So similar again to the crema head on something like a pressurized portafilter. So this glass, I mean, gets pretty hot. I mean, I have barista hands, and that's pretty toasty. Wow, yeah. Ooh, yowza. Okay, so we're gonna take a little sip. Well, that's actually the most palatable of them all. It's not pungent at all. I bet you that is around 1.2, 1.3%, which is the same as like, a typical cup of drip coffee at a diner. So this is, it's more palatable to me. I enjoyed a little bit more, but again, for me, these roasts aren't really my style, and this style of extraction is not great because it's going to be a very low extraction. So this is definitely not espresso. It is something in between filter coffee and espresso. It's just like Nespresso. So there should probably be another term created for something like this because they don't really fit into either category. It's not thick and it's not syrupy like espresso. It has that faux head of crema on top. So we'll stack these up for a nice cutesy little all right, that was silly. This is the Rise Q. It's really neat that there are designers like Philippe who are coming into the coffee realm in order to design something that is a statement of art, a statement piece, something that can sit in your kitchen and looks really beautiful and doesn't kind of detract the eye. You don't look at this and see a coffee maker. You look at it and you see, some sort of piece of art in your kitchen, or, you see an egg. I don't know, it's up to you. I think the aesthetic is really nice. It looks really cool, and I think that it's really neat, the extraction process, how it looks. Do I believe in the marketing? Well, no. Granted, I've not gotten to try like really nice specialty coffees on it in order to compare it with something like the Drink Morning machine, which is an espresso capable, but it is cool. Do I recommend it? Well, I don't ever recommend machines that you can only use plastic pods for. I am a big advocate in using something that's biodegradable. So if you're wanting an espresso style machine and the convenience of it, Drink Morning work with roasters who are creating biodegradable capsules that I would recommend over this, just to ensure that you're, being a little bit more responsible environmentally, but I'm not gonna actually keep it. It's gonna go to a Patreon supporter. So someone who supports my Patreon, because that's where I get some of that money in order to buy these machines so I can abstain from bias as often as possible. I'm still not to a level where I can solely rely on that for it. I still dip out of my own pocket often, or I have to rely on loans or free gear in order to make these reviews. But there are times where I'm able to buy things. So this is going to go to a Patreon member. If you're interested in being a part of that, please check out the link below, and maybe you'll get to take home one of these pieces designed by Philippe Starck himself. Philippe, if you're watching, let's grab a cup of coffee and let's design something. You know what I mean? Anyway, all right. Well, thank you so much for watching. Again, hit the like, hit the subscribe if you enjoy my content. Probably won't be doing very many pod machine things, but I just got excited when I saw a Starck product on the market. So thanks very much, and I hope that you, unlike me today, brew something tasty, and cheers.